LoreSplice presents Skip Skip Lore Abyss, the existential dread of ignoring story in games. Because skipping a cutscene might mean skipping your soul. You're finally sitting down after a long day. Controller in hand, the music swells, the game begins. A cinematic shot pans over war-torn landscapes. Dramatic lighting, mysterious figures. Two characters you don't recognize are speaking in hushed, urgent tones about the binding accord of the fifth seal. You're lost. But you hold out hope. Maybe this will make sense soon. Then comes the real test. The dialogue keeps going. There's no skip button. You are now spiritually imprisoned in a 12-minute cutscene featuring zero context, 3 betrayals, and 1 unskippable prophecy. Welcome to LoreSplice, where stories fracture, and so does your attention span. In the beginning, there were pixels and 8-bit silence. Then one day a miracle happened. Narrative. Games like Final Fantasy IV, Chrono Trigger, and Metal Gear Solid showed us that a story wasn't just a backdrop, it was the reason we kept playing. We were invested. We wanted to know why Sephiroth burned the town, what happened to Lavos, or why Snake was constantly being yelled at by a guy named Campbell. Cutscenes were a reward back then. A sweet slice of story after grinding through a dungeon. A break, a chance to catch your breath while Cloud dramatically looked away from the camera and muttered something cryptic. But somewhere along the way, we stopped watching. We started skipping. It started slow. First, it was skipping tutorials. Then it was just this side quest dialogue. Then it became, I don't care what this NPC is saying, just give me the quest and let me go. And now? It's a pandemic. A plague of story-blind gamers, click-mashing their way through epics they never understood. You've done it. We all have. You skip a dialogue tree, only to realize you missed the part where the NPC told you where to go. So now you're wandering in a cave, fighting level 50 spiders, wondering why your character just shouted, "I must avenge the Order of the Pale King," when you have no idea who that is. Congratulations. You're emotionally lost. You're narratively bankrupt. You are living a plotless existence in a game built entirely on lore. Skipping lore isn't harmless. It's not like fast-forwarding through a recap. It has consequences, sometimes small, like not knowing which relic to use in a puzzle, sometimes devastating. You skip a cutscene, and suddenly, the person you thought was your ally is the villain. And everyone on Reddit is screaming, "How did you not see that coming?" And you can't tell them the truth. You can't say, "I was eating chips and watching Netflix during that cutscene." So instead, you nod, you pretend, you write fan theories based on vibes. You become what the fandom dreads most, a loreless player in a lore-rich world. Let's not pretend we're innocent. Gamers are complicated creatures. We demand games with deep stories. We rage when a sequel abandons the lore. We praise immaculate world-building. But then we get bored halfway through a 10-minute cutscene and shout, "Who even are these people?" We are both scholars and skip fiends, story pilgrims and button mashers. We cry at the ending, but skipped every scene that got us there. We want to feel something, but not, like, read. That's too much. There's a moment every gamer knows. You skip one cutscene, then another. Then you forget who your character is. You're doing quests out of order. A woman in a tavern hugs you and says, "Thank you for freeing my brother." You have no idea who she is. You didn't even know there was a brother. But now you're emotionally committed to a plotline you weren't present for. That's the lore spiral. You can't go back. You can't rewatch the cutscenes. You're just pressing forward, like a hollow shell of a hero, emotionally adrift in a sea of skipped dialogue boxes. So what do? We outsource our guilt. We close the game and open YouTube. We type, game title, plot explained, and we watch a 45-minute video with timestamps and ominous music. We absorb lore secondhand. We didn't experience it. We studied it like we were cramming for a final exam in Mythology of Fate Kingdoms 101. And then we act like we knew it all along. Yeah, of course the king's hand was a metaphor for the protagonist's guilt. Sure, buddy, you skipped every journal entry and side conversation, but now you're here, dropping lore like you earned it. Sometimes, skipping isn't just inconvenient, it's game-breaking. You miss the detail about how to access a hidden ending. You skip the warning that the next choice is permanent. You sell the one quest item you were told never to get rid of, because you skip the NPC dialogue saying, "Guard this with your life." Now the game is broken. The plot makes no sense. You're in the final boss fight, and your companion turns against you, and you just sit there, confused, whispering, "Why?" Because you skipped it. You missed everything. And now the betrayal hits different, because it doesn't hit at all. But there is one group who takes this to the extreme. The ultimate lore deniers. The alpha skippers. Speedrunners. They don't just ignore lore, they bypass it at a code level. They warp from the opening cutscene to the final boss using a series of frame-perfect backflips and illegal soup movement. They're not skipping. They're rewriting the game's narrative into a minimalist time trial. In their version, no one has names, no one speaks. The plot is start timer, beat Ganon. And honestly, it's majestic. They've purified gaming into pure mechanics. It's not loreless, it's post-lore. Then there's the friend. You know the one. They watched every cutscene. They read every note. They know things. And when you play co-op, they try to help. You. Wait, why are we fighting this boss again? Them. Because he betrayed the Council of Echoes and drank from the forbidden chalice, which turned him into a vessel for you. Skip. You've become a lore vampire. Leeching second-hand plot from someone else's attention span. You're not playing the game. You're vibing in someone else's narrative comprehension. Here's the thing. Most games don't need you to know every line of lore. You can play Doom without reading a single codex. You can survive Skyrim without understanding Alduin's prophecy. But when you do pay attention, something shifts. The world gets deeper. NPCs feel more real. Quests take on meaning. That old man with the missing goat isn't just a side quest. He's a story about loss, about identity, about memory. And you realize, the lore wasn't optional. It was waiting for you. So next time you boot up a game and see that glimmering prompt, ask yourself, what are you skipping? A plot twist? A character arc? A moment that would have hit you in the chest if you'd just let it land? Or maybe it's filler. Maybe it's exposition soup. But maybe, just maybe, it's the moment you'll remember when the credits roll. The thing that makes the sword feel heavier, the loss feel sharper, the story feel yours. And if you still skip it, we'll be here, watching, judging, narrating. This is LoreSplice, where stories fracture, and you skip the part where it all made sense.